Jimmy was walking down an average street in his hometown. Average except for the screaming man down the street. He was dressed in a cowboy hat, a bathrobe, no pants and Crocs. Jimmy's parents always told him that he was a good listener, or maybe they just said that because they couldn't think of anything else their son was good at. He used his apparently big talent for listening by hearing what the screaming man was saying, because it was obvious that everyone else was ignoring him or looking at him like he was insane. Jimmy thought to himself that before ruling out this obviously very trustworthy man, he would first listen to what he was saying. The man was screaming about our true art. He apparently found the ultimate piece of art, the perfect one, the one that ruled over everything else. Jimmy considered that idea very strange. One truly perfect piece of art, is that even possible? The thoughts he was having were interrupted by gunshots. The funny-looking man was shot by a police officer that strangely put his police cap on his chest and muttered the words, "No one may ever know of the truth." The police officer then just walked away and started to talk about last week's football match with his partner, like nothing happened. They both not noticing a small folded piece of paper dropping from the man's pocket. Jimmy picked up the paper, unfolded it and started reading. Jimmy was baffled by what he was reading. It was the blueprint for creating the ultimate piece of art, the very one the man was describing in his crazed ramblings. Even just looking at these plans, Jimmy was awestruck. In this moment he decided that he would be the one to assemble the ultimate piece of art, but he first needed to collect all these items on this list to even have the ability to build it. The items were a bunch of weird, ultra-specific things that probably needed a lot of work to collect, but Jimmy had nothing else going on anyway. He also decided to ask his best friend and roommate Stabby Mac Stab, or Short Stabby, for help. He accepted, because he also had nothing else going on at the moment. So they were going to get the first item on the list, the prize for the best improvised stand-up comedy show. There was a big problem with getting this improvised stand-up comedy award, though. All improvised shows have been made illegal a while ago. Jimmy didn't know why that was, he just knew that he needed to be part of one to get the first item on his list. Jimmy and Stabby went outside to find a secret, illegal comedy stage show. There had to be one somewhere. They found a sketchy-looking man in a dark and threatening alley, and Jimmy immediately asked where a very illegal improvised stage show could be. The man called Jimmy a dirty cop, trying to be undercover, and turned his back on him. Jimmy was absolutely distraught. Stabby then went to the man, put a knife to his throat and demanded that he would tell him where an improvised comedy show is, or he would never see his family again. In shock, he then told Stabby the location, but he didn't keep his promise and immediately killed the sketchy man. But Jimmy didn't care about that. He tried to figure out why he was thought of as a dirty undercover cop. He wasn't dirty, or undercover, or even a cop. But this reminded him of an helpful instructional video he watched once. The secret improvised stand-up comedy club was guarded by a gigantic bodyguard, and I mean gigantic. He was 4.5 meters tall, and covered in muscles. He even had muscles on his muscles. Before he could even talk to him, Stabby told him that he knew the bodyguard. He was an old stabbing friend he had in college. Jimmy was shocked. He never knew that Stabby went to college. The guard recognized his old friend. They talked about their favorite murders they committed back in the good old days, and then he let them through. The first thing you saw when coming into the club was the main stage and a bar with the slogan, "It may kill your liver, but at least the jokes will be funnier." Over it. On the other side of the room was the reception where you could apply for the improvised stand-up comedy competition. The only thing you had to do was to sign the paper that just said, "If I ever get caught, I legally apologize and give pinky fingers that I will never do it again." After signing the application, Jimmy went on stage to perform his part of the improvised stand-up comedy competition. The trophy was right next to the stage, guarded by a lot less threatening bodyguard. Jimmy said his joke to the audience. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because it wanted to. After this gut-busting example of comedic brilliance that will transcend the concept of time itself by the nature of its absolute hilarity, Jimmy realized a bleak truth that laid under his nose the entire time. Their entire world was scripted and read by a text-to-speech voice. This fact made improvised comedy, no, not just comedy, but all improvised things impossible, because the entire nature, his world and existence was scripted. That is why it was made illegal. It is quite literally a lie. While Jimmy thought about this horrifying truth, he was silent and the crowd were confused and angered. They wasted their money and precious time for a random dude standing on stage and thinking about the nature of existence. They could have done so much more with their money and... Okay, maybe not time, but you get the point. While everyone was slowly getting angrier and angrier, Stabby lost his patience and shot the guard protecting the trophy, and just took it from its pedestal. Stabby's sudden action was basically like taking off the bottle cap of a cola you shock for 15 minutes straight. The entire crowd exploded into a giant brawl. While the crowd was busy punching each other to death for no reason, Stabby walked on stage to Jimmy and said, "This seems like a good time to leave." Exiting the improvised stand-up comedy club, which now just turned into a giant brawl, Jimmy told Stabby where they would find the next item on the list. They needed the Book of Demony. While Jimmy talked about how important this book is in the big picture of the ultimate piece of art, Stabby only half listened. He was just happy to have something to do after he was fired from his job. His prior boss only realized that it may have been a bad idea to let a man called Stabby Mac stab near a trash compactor when it was already too late.